Hello and welcome. My name is Natalie Sanchez and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the Interim Education Program Coordinator with the Vincent Price Art Museum Foundation. And I would like to take a moment to invite my coworker and my dear colleague Joseph to introduce himself too.
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. I'm Joseph Valencia, Exhibitions and Programs Manager. Just here, really excited, really. This is our fourth year operating this program. And the one thing I would just preface is just to how grateful I am for all the students and our program staff and faculty. We really rose to the challenge this year of the virtual experience, the changes that we, experienced due to COVID. And I think you'll be really pleased to hear from the students and what they experience remotely with their mentors in DC. So I'll leave it at that and go ahead, Natalie.
Thank you. Together, we would like to welcome everyone to this year's Washington D.C. Internship Closing Reception. We are thrilled that you were able to join us today for this special celebration. In just a moment, as Joseph mentioned, you'll be hearing from this year's cohort of East Los Angeles College student interns and the remote internship experiences with our Washington, D.C. partners, the Smithsonian Institution and the National Gallery of Art. But first, we would like to invite leaders from our East Los Angeles College and Vincent Price Art Museum Foundation to introduce themselves and share a few opening remarks. Do we have President Roman?
I'm here, Natalie.
Wonderful.
Thank you. If I can start again, thank you so much, Natalie. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you. Good to see our students. Let me, as always, I like to start by acknowledging the good work that goes into these programs. So I want to thank all of you who were involved in coordinating these invaluable internships for our students. Natalie, Joseph, Linda, of course, Victor, and the entire VPAM board. I know some of my colleagues are here today and you'll probably hear from them, but thank you. You know, I've been a witness to the incredible commitment that you give our students. And, we try to get the highest value of these programs. And I think we've accomplished this with this particular internship program and really be able to create opportunities for exposure into the arts world. Although, this year you completed it online, I have no doubt that your experience is indeed very valuable. Our new director who's here, you'll probably hear from him under his leadership. We are going to continue. Steve Wong will continue to build upon these great programs along with Linda, Natalie, Joseph, Dean Lamb, if you're here. As other opportunities become available, what we want to do is make sure that we capitalize on these and be able to place more students into these internship programs like the one that we're here for today that's been very valuable and very successful. And I know it's had tremendous value to the students that have gone through it. And to our students, I just want to say congratulations for getting here. And want to let you know that we're here to support you. As you've seen already, you have a great support system, and your presentation today is sort of the culmination of all the excellent work that you've done this past month. And I truly hope that you found value in the experience. I think this is a one-of-a-kind internship program. And I have no doubt that you've learned a great deal from your mentors, from those professionals that you've come in contact with and the opportunity to interact with. So it's my hope to see you immerse yourselves in further into the arts world as you continue your educational journey and into your professional career. So Selene, Dominic, Gloria, Allison, congratulations on completing this program. And really, it's my best wishes to each of you on all of your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for being an avid supporter. I believe Dean Lamb might be present. If you wanted to say, introduce yourself and say hello. Any remarks?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us to celebrate our interns' success experience and their presentations. I'm sure they're going to blow us away. In the 4 weeks period of time, I am sure that they learned so much. Even though it's virtual internship, I am 100% confident that this experience has brought them invaluable experiences that actually gave them a solid foundation to move forward, and especially if they want to continue the career in museum field. So thank you so much, all the colleagues, and really for the our internship partners from Smithsonian and National Gallery of Arts. And thank you so much for hosting our students. I really, really appreciate. And before I turn the time back to Natalie, I want to use this opportunity to introduce our VP, VP of Academic Affairs, Ruben Arenas. So Ruben, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I just want to say, again, welcome to everybody, and thank you for being here to celebrate our students. I know we only have a limited time, so I just want to again echo my thanks to our museum foundation, our faculty in art and art history for, again, their support of our students. So thank you.
Thank you. I do know that we have some VPAM Foundation board members present, and if we can maybe have maybe a couple of them say hello and any opening remarks.
Mercedes, you want to kick it off, or?
Sure. I'm excited to be here today. I had the privilege of sharing some thoughts on developing self-awareness for leadership with the group early on in the program, and I've been involved with this program since its inception, and I know what a transformational experience it is. So I look forward to hearing these this year's interns and what they have learned.
Excellent. I'll just echo my gratitude for this program, for especially Natalie and Joseph for all your hard work. I know the kickoff intensive was spectacular. We brought in so many local leaders, and then we sent the students out into the world too. And I want to get to that. So I just want to thank you and Joseph for all that work. Hopefully everyone enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, our newest member of the team, Director Stephen Wong.
Thanks for the introduction, Natalie. My name is Stephen Wong. I am the director of the Vincent Price Art Museum. Thank you everyone for attending today's reception. I am excited to meet and see the presentations of the most recent class of the DC interns and hear about their experiences. And I'm super excited to be involved with such an important partnership in cultivating the next generation of arts professionals and leaders. And this is the generation that will shake things up more than we are. So I'm really looking forward to that. And this is a really important pipeline to do that. So I'm really excited. But none of this would be possible without our key partners and collaborators who have helped make this internship program a reality. So, those who have come before me, I just want to acknowledge Dean Lam, President Roman, Vice President Arenas, and then, of course, our board members for being present here today, which is Cello and Monica. Mercedes, sorry. Oh my God. I want to acknowledge Mercedes, for our board member Mercedes, for being here. Also, I do want to acknowledge, and if you could wave if people are on the screen, I do want to acknowledge the chair of the art department, Linda Callan, the associate professor of art history and author of the Museum Studies Certificate program, Dr. Singh, assistant professor of art history, Professor Brown. I want to acknowledge the chair of the Department of Anthropology, Geography, and Geology, Dr. Bernard, instruction and outreach librarian and associate professor of library science, Professor Alvarez, I want to acknowledge instructional assistant of the art department, Marissa Marowski, and our team, our amazing team at the museum, which is Victor Para, Sonia Mack, Rebecca Vega, Joseph Valencia, Natalie Sanchez, and Francisco Sanchez. On top of that, and I'm going to end it here, I would like to thank our generous funders and supporters of the Museum Studies Certificate Program and the Washington, D.C. Internship Program. So a very special thanks to Drew Petty, who is representing the Alice L. Walton Foundation, Blanca Aguirre on behalf of the Bank of America Charitable Foundation, Sylvia Castillo of Mitsubishi UFG Union Bank Foundation, Nancy Adams and Charles Sims on behalf of the Cynthia Lee Moen Scholarship, and Barbara Hingsley and Joe Andrews. So thank you for all of you for the generous support.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I'll go ahead and add to that. Of course, this program in part could not have been made possible without our partners, specifically the Smithsonian Latino Center Director, Eduardo Diaz, and the program manager, Diana Bosa Bastidas. Working together with the Smithsonian Office of Fellowships and Internships. They've helped coordinate and mentor not only this cohort, but the past 4 years of interns. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just tell you briefly, before we jump into presentations, a little bit more about the program itself. So working alongside Joseph, we've provided leadership and support for the Vincent Price Art Museum community and also the Museum Studies Certificate Program students and interns. In the fall of 2019, ELAC, in partnership with VPAM, officially began the Museum Studies Certificate Program, offering 7 courses in the departments of anthropology, art and art history, and library science. Serving as a diversity pipeline program, this largely Latinx student body has served the largely Latinx student body, and this program serves to educate and inspire the next generation of museum professionals in Los Angeles and beyond. An integral part of that is the internship component. So for the past 4 years, VPAM has worked with the Smithsonian Latino Center to be able to provide 4 ELAC students a full-time internship with a mentor at the Smithsonian Institution. This year, we are honored to be able to add the National Gallery of Art as our newest partner. And this year, this past January, Joseph and I helped direct a week-long virtual orientation with leading museum professionals who were able to speak to our 4 interns. And I do want to recognize that we have some of them here present. And so Elena Muslar, if you don't mind waving. And then as mentioned, Mercedes, our board member, also shared and led a workshop. And in addition to that, we also had an alumni roundtable. So I believe one of our alumni is also present. And so after our week-long orientation, they had their 4 weeks of remote internship with their mentors. And so in just a moment, we'll hear about their experiences. We'll go ahead and begin with Allison Segura.
Hello, my name is Allison Segura. My pronouns are she and her. And I was placed with the National Gallery of Art as an intern to the Department of Sculpture and Decorative Arts. My mentor was Assistant Curator Emily Pegues, and I thank her for her support and guidance through a remote internship. Currently, I am enrolled in the Museum Studies Certificate Program here at East Los Angeles College, and I look forward to completing this program at the end of fall semester 2021. My academic journey prior to ELAC included earning a BA in art with a focus on studio art from Cal State University, Los Angeles in 2015. Considering my ceramic art practice and gravitation toward museum education, my mentor, Emily, encouraged me to tailor this internship to my interests. She was a soundboard for ideas, a resource for information and liaison in connecting me with colleagues to discuss curatorial roles and the importance of acquisitions, provenance, issues with fakes, conservation, and exhibition planning. I met one-on-one with museum educators, head of programs, school and family, and doctoral student interns placed at the gallery. This gave me insight to institutional, administrative, and individual challenges and successes within the museum sector. And as I began to feel comfortable meeting people through Zoom, I grew confident in sharing my project idea with these individuals and openly asking for feedback. During orientation and interviews, I often heard museum professionals vocalize the importance of communication and collaboration within the field, to which I think my project is an example of the two elements. And before I give you the tour of my project, I will premise the reference and goals for this. It was executed as a virtual educational tour of a 16th century French Renaissance ceramic object from a collection titled the Saint-Pécher Ceramics. The objective was to develop content for the gallery's Instagram stories that is inviting and interactive toward a target audience of families with children, but essentially for anyone should they choose to participate. I saw a need for a representation of decorative arts on the gallery's social media, but more importantly, an opportunity to create a simple teaching model through this platform using a rare object that a large population might not have ever seen before. I learned that the education department at the gallery references Harvard University's Project Zero that concentrates on establishing participation through open discussion without implementing guided questions. The gallery's pedagogical practice allows attendees to discuss an informal analysis of color, composition, subject matter, material, and etc. during the first half of an event or session. And after about 30-40 minutes of open feedback, the facilitator provides critical information about the work, the artist, and background, which supports the second half of the discussion into a richer analysis and deeper connection to the work. And during my observation of two virtual events titled The Art of Looking and Artful Conversation, this model was applied to varying demographics, and I witnessed very positive results in both events. And I encourage you, if you're interested in these free events, to check out the National Gallery of Art's website for the Art of Looking and Artful Conversations. So I'll go ahead and lead you on this virtual tour that's in the format of Instagram stories. The first introductory question would be, have you ever seen an object like this before? Yes or no? I had never seen anything of the Saint-Pécher ceramics prior to my internship, so it was very fascinating to learn about new work. The follow-up question would be, can you guess what the material is? Is it marble, clay, or wood? And then the third would answer that question, it's clay, and providing a zoom-in video so you can see the details of the object. So the fourth slide would be an introduction to who is developing this tour. It would be, hi, my name is Allison and I'm an intern, and my intentions for the tour. And then I'll go ahead and continue to describe the object itself. It's called a salt or a salt cellar. It's 16th century French Renaissance. I provided the dimensions to give scale because it is a virtual experience. I would want to present as many details as I can to allow the online visitor to imagine the piece to scale, to reference. The next slide would describe its decoration and function. The salt cellars were used to hold salt, and they were very expensive. Salt was once a very expensive commodity, and because there was only one image that I was able to use, I had to manipulate it and edit it to again be easy to read and translate without having the physical object to study from. So that's the little reference of the shallow bowl. That's where it would be placed. Followed by some quick facts. The salt is a Saint-Pécher ceramic, named after the city in France where clay was sourced. And without a signature or date on the works, the artist's identity is a mystery. So they're not sure if it was a collection of artists, a collective, or a single person who manufactured these pieces. We do know that based on inventories, French royals were the ones who commissioned these rare and elaborate works. And no design was repeated, while collectively they carry shared characteristics. The candlesticks, the cups, the ewers are not replicated in any shape or form. Fewer than 80 are recorded, and three exist in the NGA's collection. Together, they show influences of gold-filled bookbinding, architecture, metalwork, and sculpture. And an interesting opportunity to insert my personal narrative to this tour was to share with the online visitor my experience and my practice as a ceramist who also makes functional and decorative pieces. So with this practice and experience in mind, it made me question, okay, how exactly is this created? And there's a reference of my own work to show some parallel. Understand how these pieces were made, I sort of made my own diagram of the assembly to, again, make the viewer understand the assembly of a very complex work. And the technical skill included in these pieces would have been the wheel throwing, hand building, and mold casting. And so I spotlight these features to, again, make it easy to understand exactly what I am trying to really focus on: the columns, the shells, the grotesque masks that were made with a mold. The next slide would also indicate the reference to a gold-filled bookbinding process, very similar to the leather covers on Renaissance books, and the similarity of that interlaced designing on the coil and the outline of the windows on the salt. Then a quick reference back to the same diagram with the details showing you which parts were wheel thrown, hand built, and mold made, with the bowl, the coils, and the slabs. Considering all the complexity of the material, the composition, subject matter, the one-of-a-kind design, the multi-piece assembly, and the combination of techniques, based on my experience, I have concluded that this is a very skilled potter. And to end the tour, in addition to understanding skill and knowledge, a lot of times with very complex pieces, it's much easier for an artist to sort of lay a groundwork or foundation, a sketch, a study on how to approach and construct a very complex piece. So there's just a quick reference to the sketch of the Blue Garden xylophone piece I featured earlier. That would segue into an invitation to an activity for the online visitor to select an object in their home that is functional and decorative, make a sketch, screenshot it, share and tag the National Gallery of Art. Ending the tour, I would thank them for following me on this educational journey and providing them the dates that I was an intern and where I currently am from, and the swipe up link feature that would hopefully direct them to the internship opportunities through the Vincent Price Art Museum, and allowing this to be a platform to share with others that we have a special partnership with the National Gallery of Art and the Smithsonian to have internship opportunities like this. So in conclusion, the final product for this project was multifaceted, with a compare and contrast of a living and unidentified artist and practice. That it was an educational model, visitor content contribution opportunity, an exclusive digital experience not available at the museum, a way to receive information without a unilateral or authoritative language, like from a curator, and a vehicle to drive people toward the VPAM and the internship opportunities available. So what are my next steps? Next slide, please. I intend to complete the Museum Studies Certificate program, as mentioned before, by fall 2021. Recently, I was offered a short-term contract to provide short digital descriptions for the gallery's website that will provide accessibility to visitors with vision impairment through the translation of a screen reader. And I plan to take bigger steps in my art practice by applying for art residencies and begin looking into an MFA program. I do want to thank you for your time, and I apologize for the internet connection. So I'm would be very open to hearing your feedback. The project is not yet live, but I hear that it's very close to being published through the press office. So keep an eye out. And again, I would be happy to hear your feedback on this. And thank you to the Vincent Price, the Smithsonian Latino Center, and the National Gallery of Art for giving me this valuable experience.
I'll go ahead and step in and take off from where Allison left off. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Selene Castañeda, and I was placed with the Smithsonian Institution's Archives of American Art. Before I kind of jump into what my project was about and a little bit more about myself, I just wanted to share these few little details about the history of the archives. While doing a lot of talks or presentations among my colleagues, I would just say AAA, and they're like, "What is AAA?" So sometimes Archives of American Art are abbreviated as AAA or AAA. Originally founded in Detroit. It started off as a microfilm selection, and then eventually started getting more like growing their collections. They didn't join the Smithsonian until 1970. And they actually have two offices today. They have the one in Washington, D.C., downtown D.C., and they also have a New York office. And I was actually working closely with some of the people in the New York office as well. They have just about everything you can think of that can provide context to artists' work and the relationships to other artists, like letters, diaries, scrapbooks. I even like when kind of looking at the metadata and the information on resources, sometimes there were things that were just labeled as something biological. So I don't know if that means hair or tattoos. I sadly did not get a chance to see that in person. But yeah, they have a great collection of just about anything you can think of. And it's free and open to just about anyone, not just researchers. Anyone that's curious to find out more about their favorite artists can openly access those collections online as well. And apparently, as of today, it is still the largest collection of oral histories related to art. And if you want to see and learn more about the archives, I left the little link right there, www.aaa.si.edu/about. Next slide, please. So I work closely with three people. My mentors were Dr. Josh G. Franco, who is a national collector. He's great, he's amazing, he's interesting, funny. And then I also worked with Erin Kinhart, who's head of collections and processing. And then just about checked in every day with Jennifer Neal, who is their processing archivist, and she was from the New York office that I mentioned previously. They honestly were really great with me. They not only helped me work through my project and get to know me and my goals and reach my goals, but they also presented me to other professionals in the field to get more of a scope of what kinds of people and what kinds of work go into the archives. And before I get more into the project, I like to mention that I sat in an informational meeting. So I got to speak to people that were contractors, people that were working on books, people that worked for the transcription center, and also sat in like social media working group meetings too, because I was also interested in how their Instagram page worked and looked. And thankfully, my mentors were great at giving me a platform to present my ideas, thoughts, and feelings openly with others. And they definitely took it into consideration. And I'm really, really happy to share that. Next slide, please. So to preface what my project was about, I was honestly really interested in kind of developing my own identity and getting to know my own identity. When working on the workshops that we did the week prior to starting the internship, I recognized that I consider myself to be a storyteller, and I also value storytelling, and I also place a really high value on identity. So with all of that in mind and thinking about digitization and archiving and telling stories and identity, I went ahead and went through my own family's memories, and I actually found this photograph, which is the first photograph ever taken of me. If you look right in this dead center of this photograph, that's actually, the baby is actually me, and it's my own history. It's the first photo ever taken of me, and those are my parents and my two sisters. Now I know that in like the first few days that I was born, I was placed on a donkey. So with this idea of storytelling and promoting identity, I kind of brought that with me into my project. So my project, what you're looking at right here is actually an online resource that anyone can access. And this is just one example out of the 55 that I edited. I edited the metadata of these different resources to make sure that I highlighted the artist's identity. And I also went ahead and did some subject term cleanup. So if you see on the side where it says tags, it says Latino and Latin American artists. That was actually previously Hispanic artists, so it was a lot more broad. And part of the project was basically going through about 200 different collections and researching heritage or self-identifying terms of the artists, and making sure we highlight that, and also kind of divorcing these artists from the Hispanic term, because not everyone is from Spain. We are very diverse, and we want to celebrate that diversity as well. So yeah, you can see that at the summary and with the finding aid of the resource, it'll mention that they're either Chicano, Mexican, Mexican American, Tejano. That's pretty much what I did. And it required a lot of research. There were times where the only source that I could find of what their identity was basically just going through their oral history and see where their parents were from or where they said they were from. There were a few artists that didn't know where they were from or had a very interesting, very diverse background. And those were some of the problems that I kind of had to bring up to the working group discussions. And then there were times where I really dove deep into investigating where an artist was from. I went into their personal Instagram and their websites. I tried looking at photographs of where they went on trips to see if there was any mention of what their heritage was. And unfortunately, I couldn't find that, but I made sure to leave a lot of those notes that I had. I left those notes behind for other archivists to look into when the opportunity arose. And yeah, it took a lot longer than I thought it would, but it was a lot of fun, and it was definitely a big learning experience for me, because I don't really come from a art history background, and this project, fortunately and thankfully, has helped nurture my knowledge of art history and Latin American artists. Next slide, please. So upon reflecting on this project, like I mentioned, it improved my knowledge of art history and diverse artists. I also believe it sharpened my curiosity. It improved research skills. I never ever felt like such a detective. It definitely brought more importance to my value on identity. I had to pay more attention to detail, and I feel like I can spot more mistakes now, my own mistakes and others' mistakes as well. And when I had one of the first meetings with my mentor, Dr. Josh Franco, the first piece of advice that he gave me was follow the chisme, or follow the gossip. And honestly, that's what I did. And it really, really did help me. I ended up finding out that there was an artist that was born in the same city I live in. And then I found that just about half of the artists that I researched were all in one way or another connected to Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera, which was mind blowing to me. And next slide, please. So a little bit more about me. I come from more of a library science background. I actually had a previous internship back in 2019 as a librarian apprentice, and I still currently work with the Los Angeles Public Library. I started off as a messenger clerk, but now work as an administrative clerk. So I do kind of look at more of the information on books and kind of how they're sorted and put into circulation, and then of course deal with the public, but I haven't been able to since COVID. So I'm still there, and they're all very happy about this internship. I also plan to eventually go to library school. And then currently I'm also working on my museum study certificate at ELAC. And then I'm also doubly matriculated at Cal State Long Beach as a linguistics student with a minor in French. As for what I see in the future, I signed up to be a transcriber for the Archives of American Art Transcription Center, which is really interesting. Basically, all those letters, photos, signs, anything that is written down, you get to look at those collections, and you get to write down everything in plain text so that it's easier to search up and read in case the handwriting is harder to see, harder to read. So I'm doing that kind of on the side as well. And I will also be participating in the archives on box lunch events. I highly recommend all of you to look into those events that they have. They have them every week. They post about them on their Instagram page. And basically what it is that from the New York office, they'll have a collection that they haven't quite processed yet. And they'll start bringing out all the things that they have in that collection. And then it kind of gives more context to certain artists, certain movements, and it also kind of raises interest in to see which archivist wants to take on the task of who wants to get the processing started. So I participated in one of those, and that was really fun, and I will continue to do so. And I just want to thank you all again. If you have any more questions for me, I highly recommend you to contact me at my email. It's right there. I like to get back to people within like 3 to 4 days. And if you have any questions, I'm really happy to talk to anybody about that. Thank you so much.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gloria Ortega. I see a lot of familiar faces here today, so it's great to see you all again. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a current junior at Cal State Los Angeles, majoring in art history, and I'm a 2020 graduate of the East Los Angeles Art History for Transfer program. And ELAC really started me on my academic journey in 2016. I went back as a non-traditional student, and I took my very first art history course there with Professor Brown, who is present. So hello, hi, Professor Brown. And this is just a photo of me in 2019. I interned at the Getty Merrow undergraduate internship, and here I worked at the Center for the Study of Political Graphics as a research intern. A little bit about me and my own personal interests. I am an art history student, and I consider myself to have more of an interest in curatorial practice, museum education, but really focusing along the lines of navigating museums with the decolonial framework, especially in current times and in current like this political climate, and what does it really mean to go forth as a museum professional in that way. So I specifically, my direct involvement in this program was under the mentorship of Taina Caragol and Kate LeMay. So Taina is the Latinx art and art history curator at the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery, and Kate LeMay is the senior acting historian for the National Portrait Gallery as well. Carolina Maestre was the curatorial assistant that I worked very closely with. So here is just an image description of the interior of the National Portrait Gallery. And this is really, I think, important to take into context because the gallery has historically been thought of as a hall of heroes. Here we have the Hall of Presidents, and it's important to take into context the portraiture and the type of portraiture that resides here, and to understand, you know, for this institution and the people who have historically had access and privilege to have their portrait be made, the gallery is really working to decentralize these sort of connotations. So my exhibition and my direct involvement in this show was as a curatorial and research intern to create object-based files that would be necessary to create museum labels. So the exhibition itself was titled 1898 in American Imperium, which is a working title. And here I have included a map of the United States and its acquisitional territories from that year. And this exhibition is really the Smithsonian's first large-scale comparative study of visual culture from that year. It will be debuting on April 2023, which is the 125th anniversary of the United States becoming an empire. So it's just really a great feat for the Smithsonian to kind of look back as a federal institution and kind of re-examine the ways in which it has acquired territories. And so it's focusing not only on portraiture, but a variety of artifacts, including from Cuba, Guam, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Spain, and the Philippines. So part of the objectives that I had was to create files based on research of artworks that resided within the permanent collection of the gallery. So I created around 20 pages worth of object-based research, and these are a few examples. This is Theodore Roosevelt by Charles Dana Gibson, and I focused on the biographies of the sitters. So part of this show will be re-examining how Theodore Roosevelt has been historically presented as a very hyper-masculine savior. He, of course, was very pro-imperialism, and so here he is in his Rough Riders uniform, and he is about to go to war in Cuba. And another portrait that I focused on was of Henry Cabot Lodge, who, this is by John Singer Sargent. He was a US Senator serving from 1893 to 1924. And again, Lodge was very like pro intervention in a lot of these territories. Along with my own personal line of interest, like in decolonial narratives of history, I wanted to focus on these portraits of Queen Liliuokalani. This was important to me because the exhibition will also focus on her monarchical overthrow, how the US overthrew her queenship, and she was really very sadly overthrown by US missionaries. And so another object that I would be focusing on was this with the Laini Hopalaoa. This is an ancestral Hawaiian necklace, and it is made out of human hair and ivory bone. So I created a file and did a lot of research on its ancestral relevance and its heritage. My objectives and goals for this internship were to really focus on my research skills and curatorial knowledge. So I feel that I more than exceeded that through primary, secondary source research, citations and annotations, exhibition planning, coordination, and project team strategy, in which I was able to meet weekly with my curatorial team and also meet with other curators, especially in reference to acquisitional loans and things like that. So I really got a behind the scenes look of what it means to be a part of this. My next steps, thankfully, I was invited to stay an extra week on my original internship. So I did extend that. And then I'm happy to report that I will be continuing on as a curatorial assistant for the next 6 months with the National Portrait Gallery and with Taina Caragol. So I'm very that's more than amazing. And I'm set to graduate with my bachelor's in art history next spring at Cal State LA. And I'm currently looking at graduate programs at Claremont University for cultural studies. And here is my email. I am on LinkedIn. I just made one, so feel free to add me. And yeah, thank you.
And thank you. I would like to share with everyone that our last presenter unfortunately was unable to attend today. However, lucky for us, Dominic Cervantes did have a video recording of his presentation. So we're gonna go ahead and share that. And after that, we'll go ahead and just wrap up and make sure we have some time and space for questions.
Hello, my name is Dominic Cervantes, and I spent my internship at the National Gallery of Art. I've been attending East Los Angeles College for the past few years, and I'm currently working towards transferring to a four-year university in the fall. When I leave East Los Angeles College, I will be leaving with an associate's in both studio arts and art history. And while attending California State University Fullerton, I will be pursuing a Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree with a concentration in illustration. During my internship, I had the opportunity to work with the amazing mentors Stephen Nelson and Lauren Taylor from the Center for Advanced Studies in Visual Arts, and even had the opportunity to work with Lee Weaver from the design department. To give full disclosure, at the start of this internship, as a student focused in studio arts, I wasn't too sure what role I could see myself in a museum setting, or if I even wanted to work in museums. While we went through orientation week, we spent a lot of time talking to professionals in the field, and that's when my mind started to change. Speaking to Alan Kenoshi, senior designer at the John Paul Getty Museum, and Aaron Cristobal, associate curator at the Hammer Museum, really inspired me. Seeing people who went down a less conventional path of studying art and working in museums down the line was really interesting to see and really inspiring. That, along with my time at the NGA, has brought me to seriously think of museum work as a viable path for myself, something I didn't think about before. Working with both CASVA, Center for Advanced Study in Visual Arts, and the design team, my time was directed to the upcoming exhibition Afro-Atlantic Histories. This exhibit was first shown a few years ago at the Museum of Art in São Paulo, Brazil, and will open in Washington, D.C. on, I believe, April 2022. This exhibit includes pieces from the 16th century to today, focusing on drawing parallels, frictions, and dialogue around the visual culture of Afro-Atlantic territories and the Afro-Atlantic slave trade. With Stephen and Lauren's help, I was introduced to what it takes to compile all the pieces of art together for a show and work towards a final production. They had shown me the exhibit checklist, essentially a list of pieces they wanted to have in the exhibit, their dimensions, which institutions or individuals owned them, and some other details, and gave me the chance to do object research. Like the Sao Paulo exhibit, there are themes that tie along with the many of the pieces on the show. As you walk through the exhibit, each room will have a theme relating to the pieces and putting the pieces together. To name just a few, there will be enslavement and emancipations, everyday life, portraits, and the room I had the opportunity to work in, rights and rhythms. The research I did contributes to their knowledge of the art they are displaying and will go towards wall text they are planning to install in the gallery. Though it's unclear how much text there will be for individual items, there will be a larger collection of text for each section, bringing together the room and giving an understanding of the reasons why these pieces are being shown together. Lauren was kind enough to share some of her research with me, and I was able to use it as a guide moving forward. The focus of my research was Charles White's Gospel Singer. Through exploring the library of the National Gallery and other publications, I was able to find some interesting information about Charles White's life in New York and relationships with his friend Harry Belafonte. White spent a lot of time in New York, and I believe these photographs he took walking around Washington Park to be his reference for the composition of gospel singers. From reading interviews of Harry Belafonte, I learned of his friendship with Charles White, and from seeing a commission painting of Belafonte only a few years after creating gospel singers, I see a strong resemblance between the build and facial features of the way White depicted Belafonte to that of the gospel singer's male figure. Besides my research on Charles White, I had compiled the rights and rhythm sections together in an easier to read format. This really helped with discussing room 5 and 6 together as a whole and figuring out a way to talk about the pieces as a whole. Though a lot of my time was spent with CASVA, I also was introduced to Lee Weaver, one of the members on the design team for Afro-Atlantic Histories and the NGA as a whole. We talked about the exhibit from a designs perspective, and I was shown 3D modeling of the floor plan and other design aspects that are in the work still. Besides sitting in on design meetings and seeing what the team was working on, I was also able to contribute some work to their process. I worked on embedding videos that will be shown into the exhibit into PDF format, making it easier for the design team to work with curators and researchers on planning where and how these videos will be displayed on the gallery floor. The use of embedding these videos into a more accessible format gives the entire Afro-Atlantic Histories team an easier way for everyone to be included on decision-making processes and making the experience more interesting with interactive media. Besides the work I had done for CASVA and design, I was able to sit in on some really interesting meetings with curators, archive specialists, and all staff meetings discussing progress of rebranding the gallery is going through. Recently, the National Gallery of Art has gotten a new director, and with the new director is a whole new outlook on accessibility and inclusion of all their visitors, the general public. This rebranding is set to occur in the upcoming year and has every team within the gallery working around the clock to make sure things run smoothly. During my internship, I learned a lot of new skills I don't think I would have obtained if it weren't for this opportunity. I was able to go through the National Gallery's library, archives, and databases, and despite being away with this internship being remote, I was still able to request documents to be scanned to me and sent over for my research with CASVA. Relating to the archive, I learned about object research and the well thought out process of investigating pieces of art, putting together the pieces of an artist's life and influences around them that went into all the art that they created. And even though my own studio arts practice is focused in digital mediums, I was able to learn some more about implementation and artistic processes that go into the working of a museum setting. This internship gave me an amazing insight into museum workspace, and I'm excited to use the skills I learned here in the future. Looking forward, I'm going to work with the National Gallery of Art and volunteering to create alt text, descriptions of artwork to be heard over an online assistant for the visually impaired, as well as applying for the summer internship at the gallery for their digital media productions team, hopefully assisting on research and reporting of time-based media art in the gallery's collection. My experience with this internship was honestly amazing, and to be frank, a lot better than I thought an online internship would be. I'd like to thank the Vincent Price Art Museum for all the work they put into making this internship happen, the Smithsonian Latino Center, and last but not least, everyone at the National Gallery of Art. Thank you.
And thank all of you for joining us. I know some of you might have to part at 2 p.m., which is in just a couple of minutes. However, if some of you might be able to stay a little bit longer, we can go ahead and have our question and answer session. And then as you can see here, anybody present, because I know we have some ELAC students in our audience. If you're interested in learning about the internship program, just know that the applications will be released or available soon. And if you want more information, please check out the Vincent Price Art Museum website as well, okay, which I'll add to the chat. Now, okay, you can see all of us now. Well, maybe we can start with just a congratulations to our 4 interns because they did such an exceptional job with their presentation. So thank you very much, Gloria, Selene, Allison, and I know Dominic can't join us, but Dominic as well. do we have any thoughts, feedback, questions, or comments for our presenters?
Hello? Hi, Natalie. I just wanted to say I am just so proud of the interns. It's just amazing to see their just evolution over time as students, as budding professionals. I'm so proud right now. And I just want to just really just say that you've all done an incredible job. We're here to support you going forward. Please, please, please don't disappear. Keep us posted. Let us know how we can continue to support you in your professional endeavors. And again, I'm really proud of what I've heard today and the work that we're doing in the department, as far as our courses, as far as supporting these internships, as far as the collaborations is working. The students are the product of all of our hard work and collaboration. So again, a big, 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 big congratulations to all of you. Well done.
Thank you, Professor Brown. I did notice that we do have a couple of questions in the chat as well. So for our interns, how many hours a week did you average for these projects that you shared with us? And did it feel like a class or a job?
My personal experience was that when you're conducting research, especially independently and remotely, it just takes up, I mean, it was like a full-time position because you end up just going down these rabbit holes. And so it's also time management, like focusing on how much you can average a day or, how to effectively work. So at least for me, it definitely felt like a job and I tried to conduct it like a job. And I would say at least like sort of maybe at least around 30 to 40 hours, like full time.
Yeah, I would like to chime in and agree with Gloria, pretty much echo what she said. It did feel like a job. Like I mentioned in my presentation, I was having pretty much daily check-ins with my mentors. We set a schedule to meet every day at 7 a.m. I'm an early bird, and for them, they were 3 hours ahead. So we would have a check-in every morning, see how far I got in my project, and then I would have pretty much the rest of the day to either attend other meetings. So I would have some like gaps here and there. And if I didn't have any meetings, I allotted myself about 8 hours. So I would work from 7 to 3. I'd give myself breaks. If I felt really stuck on one resource I really wanted to finish, I would go ahead and take a little bit longer. And if I did take a little bit longer one day, I tried to give myself more of a break the other day, but pretty much every day, 7 to 3, 8 hours.
I would agree. We were told that it was going to be a full-time internship, 40 hours a week. And it certainly was that, and sometimes exceeded. Yes, especially with the time zone difference, having to get up much earlier for meetings. So yes, I agree with Selene and Gloria. Definitely felt more like a job than a class.
And it also looks like we have a few more questions too. So whomever would like to chime in on these. Diana asked, what is something you gained from the experience that you were not anticipating or didn't anticipate before participating?
I guess for me, I felt that I wasn't too sure exactly which pathway pertaining to museums I wanted to go down. I knew that I wanted to work in one, but I wasn't quite sure. And then working with Dinah and the curatorial team that I got placed with, that for me really helped narrow what I wanted to do. So I realized like, yes, curatorial is for me. Yes, graduate school is for me because that's the path that they took. And there their guidance and like their support is just, it was just so helpful in discovering like, oh, these, you know, this is what I really like. So that for me is what I got out of it.
We have another question, which might be similar. It's asking about any challenges or the most challenging aspects of your internship, and if there were any surprising elements that you experienced.
I can definitely chime in on that. I noticed I was muted. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't really have much of an art history background, so I did feel like I was a bit behind. But honestly, working on the job, I got to meet a lot of professionals that I guess the placement for me was honestly like such a perfect match, that I was placed in archives and I come from a library science background. Um, but I definitely learned on the job. I learned a lot more about these artists. And I think I don't think anyone should feel intimidated. I think everyone has something to offer. And a lot of the professionals that I met, respectfully within the archives, also came from different cultural backgrounds and different. I met some people that also what for their bachelor's, they also majored in linguistics, which was really nice to learn. um, Especially right now. I'll be completely honest with everybody. I started going to Cal State Long Beach back in 2013, so I've been in school for quite a while. I've had challenges where I was unsure if I should stick to my major or not, because as a linguistics student, I honestly was hoping to become more of a speech pathologist, but then eventually recognized that at least at Cal State Long Beach, they try to push you to become TESOL certified, which is to teach English as a second language. And while I value professors and my teachers, I personally didn't see myself going that route. So I felt kind of trapped, but I'm really happy to have found kind of my niche, that I no longer feel stuck, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And that was a challenge, and definitely, like Gloria mentioned, this experience has definitely helped me refine what my goals and my path is. Yeah.
I can definitely echo the same. I know that I knew that I wanted to continue being a practicing ceramist, but I thought that participating in the museum study certificate program would offer another opportunity or an avenue that's still within the arts. But after the internship, it's definitely strengthened my desire to continue as a studio artist. But how can I mirror the two passions of wanting to implement, like progressive or trauma-informed pedagogical practices with my studio art background? And it doesn't have to be in a museum. I thought, oh, museum education would be where I really want to be. And while I enjoyed everything that I observed and, the successful virtual events that I attended, I recognize that I can implement those goals into, other organizations or nonprofits, or develop my own, entity. It doesn't have to be in museum education, but I can use all these skills and apply it in a way that makes sense for me.
And we had another question, which I think was already answered in the chat, regarding next round or the next cycle of internships. And so for the foreseeable future, it will be online or remote. And we will be able to provide more information as the semester progresses, but I'll go ahead and just add the link in the chat too, to learn a little bit more from our website. Do we have any last questions or comments? And you could also unmute yourself, by the way, or type it in the chat. Okay.
I will offer a comment. Having sat for an hour and a half with all of the interns, I am so impressed at your ability to express yourselves eloquently with the language of the discipline you are pursuing, and that it sounds as if you all, I'm referring to the work that we did together, but that you all found out something about yourselves that will guide you into successful and happy careers. I think that's great. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much to everyone, especially like to VPAM. And I don't know who chose our placements, but I am so grateful. You guys are perfect matchmakers, honestly.
We definitely worked and owe a lot to the Smithsonian Latino Center, especially Eduardo Diaz and Deanna Bosa, because it definitely is that process of interviewing and selecting and getting all that information together and sharing that with our partners. And it's this big search, right, of who's able to take on an intern and how does a potential internship correspond to your own interests and your academic experiences as well. While I have the mic, I just wanted to add that it's so incredible to hear and see how each of you in your own way have extended your own experience and engagement with your host institution. With Gloria working as being invited on as a curatorial assistant, and Selene having interest in working in the transcription center. And I believe both Allison and Dominic have interest in working more in digital accessibility initiatives at the National Gallery of Art. Out of all 4 years of working on this program, this is the first time that this has happened, you know, and not only has it happened, but it's happened for the entire cohort. And that this is just, it's incredible. And I'm just looking forward to seeing this program continue to do what it does and have all of you continue to blow us away. So I'll leave you with that.
And thank you so much, Joseph, too. It's been a pleasure to work with Joseph this year, especially the first year being remote. So thank you very much for all of your work. And of course, the extended thanks to the VPAM team, some who are present, who have also supported in different ways. So thank you. And if we don't have any further questions or comments, we might just wrap up today's event since we went a little over, but thank you so much for staying a little longer to ask these questions and share your congratulations to this incredible cohort of interns. So, thank you. I know. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all next year. Okay. All right. Thank you all. Congratulations and have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you. Take care, everyone.